That's it. That's 30 seconds. It called me crazy, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's me, but
Crazy.
I felt like whatever. It wouldn't be the first. It probably isn't gonna be the last. I feel like the volume was going in and out a little bit on the music. I don't even know if that's possible, but I feel like it was going in and out. So hopefully I
I
sound okay.
always get some type of delay a lot of times. It's a delay before it actually starts and stops for me, but I didn't hear it going up or down.
Okay. Well then, hopefully nobody else does either. But what's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Happy May 13th. We are already entering into the half of the year. So it's kind of cool that we're talking about habits tonight. We'll see if anybody's kept up habits and what are they called when you do them for New Year's Eve?
Resolutions.
That part, resolutions. We'll see if anybody's kept up with resolutions or how that's happened. But yeah, halfway into the year, man, already 2025 was halfway or almost halfway to the halfway mark. But welcome to Free Thinkers. We are happy to be here, obviously. Join us on any of our streams, be it the YouTube channel, Free Thinkers Worldwide, or of course, our personal pages have it streaming live. It's public, so you can share it. Engage with us on the Facebook page or the YouTube stream, both of which can be found on the Facebook page, the Free Thinkers Facebook page. And everything should be public. So you can hit share, you can hit join, you can do all those good things. So please make sure you hit the share button and come join us tonight. If you've been watching for a while, log in. The StreamYard link is pinned at the top of the Facebook Free Thinkers group page. Just click it. It'll bring you right into our stream and you can come have a conversation with us. We would love to see some more of our online folks joining us for our lives. So that can be your new habit for the rest of 2020.
Yeah, make that your new habit. Y'all better get on. The people, our in-person crowd is taking over.
Man, I mean, and if you ain't been to an in-person yet,
we have
you
to
have
bump
not
up
been
in person twice a week.
Right. But if you haven't been to the in-person, it is coming up. So the last Tuesday of every month, we have our in-person Free Thinkers group. And that is completely live free. So there are no cameras, there's no recordings, no audios. You know, every once in a while, somebody will snap a picture here and there, right? But we don't put any proof of who was here and what the conversation looked like on the group page. It is the old traditional way that Free Thinkers was born from, and definitely been something that has been super great having been able to take place. Of course, thank Brent Pollard with Dirty Glove Midwest Barbecue for hosting almost all of our last Tuesdays, and certainly the folks over at Spinners. The last couple ones, we've done some Tuesdays over there on the patio. So those are generally our home bases. And so nothing will change this May and nothing will change in June. So just stay tuned, obviously, for more information. If you're in the 512 area, the last Tuesday of every month, we have our in-persons. We have our Free Thinker in person. So no live, no camera, no audios, no nothing. Just at the table, eating some food, folks drinking drinks if they want to, you know, outside, just having a great conversation and just connecting with, you never know, because you never know who's going to pop up. But it's a great space. So do join us for our in-person if you're a 512 local. But thank you for those of y'all who are joining us tonight, who are here with us tonight live and giving us your time and your brain to chew into a conversation about habits, because who knows where this is going to go. But definitely want to make sure that you know about where to find us and to share. I'm going to make sure that we are public on my page, Q. So if you want to jump in and share anything, go for it. I'm just making sure that we are up. And I know Denise is running a little bit late, but we should be
Yeah,
good to
I'm
go.
kind of doing the same thing, making sure that
Okay.
I open up my page. And
If you're already following us, where are you following us from? Where are you seeing us from? Are you on the Facebook page? Are you on the YouTube channel? Where are you at? Let us know where you're watching us from. It is still it will never not trip me out how many people will reach out after a stream is over and talk about how much they watched. And we have no idea until you tell us. So we love to know who is watching us, supporting us, engaging with us. So please let us know where you're watching us from. Let's see. All right. I think. All right. I'm up. I'm good to go. We are public. Oh, we are
Okay.
public. We are public. We are good to go.
Would you say that you're a creature of habit?
I want to say that I am. I want to say that I am, but I'm also aware of the fact that I don't necessarily have maybe some of the most popular habits either. But those habits keep me exactly where I need to be. So they work for me.
Okay, so let me
So for that,
restate it like
so for
this.
that I want to say yes. I want to say I'm a creature of habit.
Let me re-say it or rephrase it. If you go throughout the course of a day or a week and you get outside of your habits or your routine, does it bother you? Does your day feel weird? Does something feel incomplete or off when you stray too far away from your habitual routine?
I know that it would if that happened. But there are very few days in the course of a week where I don't get to do whatever my habits are. There's very few days in the course of a week where what I want, what I need to have happen in my life for me to be able to live my life and function in the life that I live. It's not many days where those things that I need to have happen don't happen. So I'm sure that
Right.
if there were enough days in a row where maybe some of those habits had been broken or interfered with to where maybe they couldn't happen, I almost guarantee it would be a challenge for me. So I
Let
have
me
to be a creature of habit then, yes.
I'm definitely a creature of habit. I like getting off script
Okay.
occasionally.
Okay.
Long as the off script is not the norm, then I'm all right. But
Right.
I do like getting off script, but in order for you to be off script, you have to have a script. So
I agree.
I do like the I
I
do like
agree.
having a script. Like me not having a script will be a problem for me. Let me ask you this. What is or is there one thing that's when it comes to habit, if I don't do this, then it's going to throw the rest of my day off? Is there a daily habit that you have? If I don't do this, then the rest of my day is gonna absolutely. Some people, my older sister, if if she didn't have her cup of coffee, then the day did not start at all.
Well, yes. Yeah, there's definitely definitely. But I would say that
Are you a breakfast person? Do you have to eat breakfast?
no.
Okay.
I have to have me time in the morning. I do.
Okay.
Like
Gotcha.
I have to have space in the morning. Like after I've taken my kids to school, before I start my work day, like I have to have at least those 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour before I go, check in with what I need to go do to
Right.
make this money. I have to have that. I think if I had to just hop up, jump up, get ready, get everybody ready out the door, and then boom, 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 off to work, I would not function properly. I don't think
Right.
so. I don't think I'd function properly. And I guess maybe because I've been fortunate to where I kind of could go to work late most days of my
Right.
adult life, it's
Mhm.
allowed me the ability to value that hour in the morning, that 45 minutes, that 30 minutes in the morning. And even in that time, I might not be doing shit. I might be on social media. I might be working out at home. I might be stretching. I might
Right.
be out on the patio. I might be doing dishes. But just the ability to like take my kids to school, clock out for a minute, that
That's
space where
very important.
nobody's
Right.
home, it's just me and it's quiet, me and
Hmm.
the dog. I have to have that. And I think that is one of the things that definitely keeps me sane throughout the course of a day, is just that ability to start my day relaxed and not stressed out under pressure.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
What
Now,
about you? Do you have a particular daily that you would have to do, or that you would feel out of sorts if you didn't?
um, I'm not an early riser, but if I wake up
Okay.
too late, it throws everything off. Um,
Okay. Okay.
I do. I need to be up and moving around before 10 a.m.
Right.
Have to. Have
Right.
to. If I
Right.
wake up after, whether, if I'm on a gummy or if I stayed up way too late the night before, and then I wake up and it's 11:30, it throws it. The rest of that day is pretty much shot to me because
I
everything else
can
was behind. It throws
I
me
can
off.
definitely identify with that for sure.
So I would, and while we're asking these questions, guys, feel free to give us your answers in the comment section as well. Hey, what's up, Destiny Smith? What's up, Jason Portis? What's going on?
Hey, hey.
Um, Uncle Melvin, Uncle Cousin Melvin Tyus. That's one. So we were going to talk about doing titles. We might
Okay.
save that for next week. But
Okay.
I just thought about that because I have technically a cousin named Melvin, but it's actually my dad's cousin.
What's your
And
second
it's
cousin?
it's it's weird for me to call someone who's the same age or older than my dad a cousin.
He should be an
So even
uncle.
when it comes to title, like I have a cousin Orly. I call her aunt. I call her aunt, or like you are at the age of my parents. So calling someone that's an elder just a cousin to me, that's real weird to me.
I
That's
got
something
you.
that we can get into next time we talk about titles. I just thought about that. That's something
Well,
we
and
can
it
get.
made me think of a family dynamic that I have within my in-law side of the family where, yeah, okay, I like that. So we will definitely touch on that maybe next week, the titles and the
We will touch
addressing people, how to address people.
Now you kind of asked me this question a little bit last
Yeah.
week when we kind of thought about the topic.
Okay.
What would you say is your best habit?
I still have to go with living my life in the mirror image of the serenity prayer. I still have to go with that. And I've thought about that a lot since last week,
Hmm.
just what I said, and how I interpreted it to myself and what that meant to me. And as I was listening to a bunch of different like head talks and stuff, about habits, and so many of the things that I read and listened to today that talked about habits and forming good habits and breaking bad habits and all of these things, so much of the system to create good habits aligns so much with the principles of the 12 steps. And not so much the identification of a substance abuse issue or an alcohol issue, just the steps needed to be able to maintain healthy choices and healthy operating, and being able to, come out of a space and create these new habits. And these new habits take the place of, let's say, bad habits or weak habits or poor performing habits or low vibrational habits. And so it's really interesting to hear, like the 7 habits of highly successful people. One of them was,
Mm.
put first things.
I got that on my list too. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a whole breakdown of that, but one of them was, putting first things first. And I was like, damn, my whole entire life, all I saw in the AA meetings and stuff growing up was first things first on the wall. So there was just so many things where it's like, regardless of whatever your association is with needing strength to figure out how to change my life or create good healthy habits, a system is required. And it's not just goals. It's not just, oh, I want to be sober. Oh, I want to drink less. Oh, I want to go to the gym. Oh, I want to eat better. Oh, I want to go to bed earlier. Oh, I want to eat. But, it's not about I want to, but yeah, of course we want to. It's the system in which you create that's going to allow that to actually take place or not. And so many pieces about, creating good habits were indicative of you've got to have a system in play.
Ooh, okay. So just on a side note, one of the things, as you said, that this was I was writing down, even
Okay.
when we're talking about habits, have/create a value system. One of my pastors told me this a long time ago. One of the things that you want to do is enlist a value system for yourself. What are your values?
Yeah.
Once you create a value system, have it written down. These are the things that I value. These are my values. It really gives a concertment to what it is that you will or won't do. And it dictates those things that you want in your life versus the things that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So, basic things. I value time.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, then everything that I do habit wise, I have to ask myself, is this adding? Is this getting the most quality out of my time, or is this a time waster?
Right.
But the first thing you got to do is establish that this is a value to me. Time is a value for me. Friendships are a value to me. Cultivating friendships are a value to me. So things that I prioritize will be surrounded by friendships and working on communication,
Mm-hmm.
working on conflict resolution. That's a part of friendships and communication. So everything, once you establish what your values are, which now as I'm talking about this, I'm going to have to rewrite everything, because then it makes it a lot easier for you to understand what habits I need to develop and what habits I need to drop.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was one of the things that I had listened to today in the 7 Habits of highly, highly, highly
Effective people.
effective people
Mhm.
was being able to figure out, what is counterproductive to my goals, right? So is this thing creating a rift in the system, and the system, of course, affecting what those end goals was. One of the things I liked that it said was it was number 2. So under the 7 habits, number 2 is begin with an end in mind.
Mhm.
And it
Right.
kept asking, it said the most powerful example that Stephen Covey, who wrote the book, used for that particular example was planning your funeral. What do you want your funeral to look like? And I thought about you,
Right.
because you oftentimes say, like, I'm leaving this for my kids. So, like,
Right.
that's what I want them to get from me. That's what I hope that they learn whenever they tap into these
Right.
one day. And so and I've thought about that many a times, because I've been to funerals, and that some of that's bullshit, right? And it's like, man, at the very last moment where people can come and maybe say hello and goodbye, like, what do you want that to look like? And
Right.
so it sounded kind of morbidy, right, for a second, but it's really not. And it doesn't just have to be that as the only example. There are so many different things that we can go into: relationships, a business, business situations. Any decision that we make where we can say, begin this with the end in mind. What do you want this to look like at the end? So to your point of working towards those habits that are going to help that come to fruition, or
Right.
are going to hinder that from coming to fruition. I like that. And I never actually read that book. I skimmed
I
through.
haven't either. I'm thinking now, like, I need to read it now.
And then by default, I started listening to 48 Laws of Power Sunday when we were driving home from the beach. And so after I got done listening to a bunch of different stuff today, it rolled me over into 48 Laws of Power, and I was like, well, this is perfect, because That's the same damn. It's for me, in my opinion, it's the same thing. Or it's talking about the same thing.
To me, I haven't completely read either of them. Some of the 48 laws of power, they're valuable, but I don't think it doesn't necessarily bring the best out of the individual. There is some teaching of manipulation as
It is.
well.
There is. There is.
Um,
There is.
so then I had to ask myself with some of the 48 laws of power, like, okay, is this actually how you want to operate? Because we did have a conversation about vulnerability, and a lot of the 48 laws of power has to do with concealing your hand and not letting people know what you're thinking and doing. And there's a lot of different things like, it's not wrong. It's
You're
just
right.
like, is this the mindset that I want to operate in while I'm dealing with people?
But I
Sometimes in the
think that,
business realm, yes.
but
Sometimes on a personal level, no.
though, everything is case by case, because in most situations where maybe we could be vulnerable, not all situations are good to show vulnerability, right? Like not
True.
all situations is vulnerability
That's
a
true.
good space. Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely had a hard time listening to them talk about, the manipulation aspect. I heard a lot of that be said too, but this is about the aspect of the power dynamic, right? And you can't be a part of a powerful dynamic if you don't have good habits, if your habits aren't well
Oh yeah,
defined.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Um. Okay, let's run down these real quick before we get anything else.
Okay,
First, I'm listening. 7 habits. Being proactive.
I liked that one.
Scale of 1 to 10. How do you say you fare with that?
Well, so
Being proactive as
it's
a habit.
proactive versus reactive, right?
Right.
So
Yes. Correct.
I don't, I
Or just
like.
being active.
Well, I would like to believe I'm not as reactive as I am very much proactive. So I think that I think I do. What'd you say? 1 to 10?
Yes.
On the proactive side, I would probably say a good 7.5, 7.5, 8.
I'd probably give myself 6, 5.
Would you really?
Yeah, I'm not good at being proactive. In a wide range. In certain
Okay,
areas, I'm much stronger than others, but a lot of areas I'm weak in when it comes to being proactive. I
okay.
can oftentimes be reactive. Even from the stand, even when I had my divorce, I had several people tell me, "Hey, Q, you need to file these papers first. You need to do this first. Don't be the one that like." And I'm like, "Oh no, we can work it out with. We don't need to get everybody in all the courts involved and stuff." And I learned being reactive puts you on defense, and oftentimes, more times than not, being reactive, it doesn't put you're usually in a worse position being reactive than proactive.
Well, because they
Um,
say that being reactive, you're responding emotionally, as opposed to being proactive, you're responding logically. You're thinking things through, you're thinking them out, you're taking accountability, as opposed to, oh, hold on, sorry. As opposed to reactively, um, it's an emotional response. It's a response to something after the fact.
right. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe that you can be reactive and still be logical. I think um react when you operate reactively, then your options are usually limited. When you operate proactively, then you usually have a wider range of options to choose from. And I'd go even further to say that's the reason why a lot of people operate reactively, because in some facets it makes it easier for you to make choices because your choices have then been narrowed down based off of how you have to respond or react to what something or someone else has done already. Sometimes the wide open proactive choice to where you literally can choose anything that you want is too much of a responsibility for a person. So they choose to allow some other force to move first that limits their actions. And then it's a lot easier to make choices when you stuck between only 2 or 3 choices.
True.
So I don't think that's if we're talking about God factor, I don't think that's not the godliest attribute to have, is to be reactive versus proactive. You have the ability to choose, then just choose. Make a decision. So yeah, I give myself a lower grade on that. I think that I definitely need to do better with that.
Okay.
But that is a good one. Now, see, looking at this, I'm gonna go back and read this book. And then you talked about beginning with the end in mind. That's a very good one.
Number 2, yeah, begin with the end in mind.
How will give yourself a grade on that one? I'd give myself about a 6.5 or 7 on that. Oh, okay. So Nikki, let me say this. It's kind of connecting together. Because a lot of times, if you're not proactive and you're always reactive, it's a lot harder to make decisions or choices or habits with the beginning or beginning with the end in mind, because that may have not been the choice. You're making this choice out of a concession versus an actual wholehearted choice.
Okay.
So for instance, okay, I did not if you're not proactive with the job that you want or where you want to live, and now you know this, you know this example. Hey, the landlord said, hey, I'm about to sell this property, so now you got to find somewhere else that you want to live. Now you're in a state of reaction, and your options become limited as to where you want to live and what you can do in the time frame you can do it in, because someone else has forced you into making a choice. And that in itself, when you're not proactive, then okay, so for instance, if I got to get out of here and I got to move, like, am I really thinking about the end? Am I beginning with the end in mind? Probably not. I'm just trying to make it to the next day. Whenever you're in a state where you're just trying to make it to the next day, you're not really thinking. You don't have the ability to think that far down the road, because time hasn't given you the option to think that far down the road. You're like, all I know is I got to get out of here now. All I know is this job ain't covering my bills, so I got to find another one. You ain't really thought about what you want to do with your life. You just know that where I'm at is not going to cover it. Those are all poor ways or poor habits to practice and participate in, because it leaves you with limited options. What do you think about that, you Hukana? If you're able to talk.
As far as what?
So right now we're talking about habits, of course, and now we kind of just we're gauging our effectiveness when it comes to this the 7 habits of highly effective people. And we're talking about one of the habits is beginning with the end in mind.
Okay.
So everything I'm saying is it's hard to think about the end in mind when you're always reactive versus being proactive.
Are you talking about as far as the end result, like what the end result is going to be,
or
as far
what
as
you want what you want the end result or the end consequence to be before you start doing the thing?
well, a lot of the times for me, I play out the scenario and no, the situation in my head. I think of different scenarios as far as the outlet and see which option that I'm going to take, which option best fits the scenario, or the I wouldn't say scenario. I don't think that would be a good word, but what best fits the whatever's going on at that time, or something that may be happening later on down the road. Um, I try to figure out, any kind of loophole or what options that I can create, so I can just utilize that. As far as the end game is concerned, if you're talking about the end from the beginning, because I play a lot of chess, and a lot of times, you gotta think two steps ahead, strategize, and and get to the end game. So I try to maximize my options as far as which option would be best to go with, and any type of situation that I'm in, or depending on the situation that I'm in, and see how I can strategize and approach it. If that doesn't work, then I'll go with this option. If that option doesn't work, I have a third option, and if the third option doesn't work, well, back to the drawing board. So you kind of get the point.
One of the things, Q, I liked about the begin with an end in mind is something that kept being mentioned about that thought was, like this, that being your that part being your personal mission statement. So beginning with an end in mind, like this is what I want my personal mission statement to be. So if this is what I want the end to look like, if this is what I want the end result to be, what I do, if I'm going to match the behaviors that are going to guarantee that end result is what I want it to be, then this is where the personal mission statement comes into play, because now you have to act on all of these things that maybe you said you wanted, didn't want, was going to do, wasn't going to do, just ways to change behaviors, implement new things to create better behaviors, more positive habits. I like the personal mission statement concept. I really do.
All right, let me add to that. And before, in regards to personal mission statement or planning, um, or game planning, a lot of times the things don't go according to plan. So a key component that I guess a lot of people have trouble adapting to, because they're so fixated on the plan or the mission statement, or the goal of that, is
Mm-hmm.
making the adjusting on the fly. So if that mission statement, or plan or whatever what have you, doesn't pan out the way that that you anticipated, what type of adjustments that you make can get that can get you back on track to achieve whatever personal mission statement that may be. So adjustments is the key word, as far as like when things don't go according to plan, because they normally don't all the time, and people falter because they don't have no contingency plan, or don't know how to adjust or adapt to whatever um, you know um, adjustments they need to make.
Oh, now this is one. Thinking win-win.
I liked think win-win though. I liked the think win-win, because think win-win it's that, a collaborative effort, right?
Right.
Because even if I allow you to win, you winning, if it's you winning means I win
Right.
too. So
Right.
there isn't a downside to losing per se, because it's the same thing. If I eat, we all gonna eat.
Right. Exactly. And there's some people that you've seen who come up with this, I got an idea, we should do this, but the idea surrounds them eating and nobody else eating. I'm like, this is not a good idea.
Right.
So it's a good practice of perception to be like, if not only if I want to do something, if I want to get other people involved, am I making sure that what I propose is a benefit for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, you seem real short-sighted and selfish if something that you propose clearly only benefits you, and everybody else is looking at scraps like, how am I supposed to be happy about this?
And again, this is 7 habits of highly effective people. So having a win-win attitude doesn't mean that you might not get some shine to yourself. It doesn't mean you have to share all wins, but in being a highly effective person, there's going to be an element of anything, cooperate, co-parent, any of the ways that we can mingle, co-live, co-workers. I mean, all those
Mm.
things are in conjunction with being able to align with the next person, right? And
And Kylie, I'm looking at this on the other side too. Not only because I just talked about how you want to make sure you're not being selfish, and there's a win in it for the next person, but there's a lot of people who do things, I don't know, for the sake of humility or whatever, and they're always doing things that benefits other people, but they don't really think about what's the win in it for me.
Mhm.
You should not go into any situation or agreement where there's no win for you.
Right. Right.
And to take it a step further, if you have a win-win mentality, you're looking at ways that is going to benefit all parties.
Right.
So it's never selfish or wrong to think about how something's going to benefit me if I'm also thinking how I'll benefit the next person as well. That's a very important habit in mind. You know what? That I ain't think about it like that, but I am definitely I'm gonna start thinking about everything. Like, what's the win-win for everyone to win on this? Because there's a lot of things that I do that has no win for me.
Okay. Okay, do you really think it doesn't have a win for you, or do you think it doesn't have a win for you, let's say, like, immediately? Is the win later on somewhere, or is it just really a washout for you? You just happen to be the vessel and it's somebody else,
A
somebody else.
lot of times. Now, I wouldn't say more times than not. I'm definitely looking for there to be some type of benefit, but there's a lot of times I will do something and there's no actual win for me. Now, if there's not, sometimes it could just be a moral win. Sometimes it could be just a relationship building win,
Right.
whatever. But I need to keep the habit of having that mindset. Like, what is this win gonna look like for me in this situation? For me helping in this situation, or me partnering with someone, what would a win look like for both of us or for all of us? That just needs to be that needs to be a habit that I don't think I've completely developed. That's a good one. All right, I'm helping myself right now.
And something that was mentioned a lot in talking about that particular principle was just the team building aspect. And so team doesn't just have to be your coworkers and employees, right? Team is just your community, your
Right.
immediate everybody. And so that was
Right.
mentioned a lot. And and even though I'm very okay being isolated and withdrawn, I'm a firm believer in we operate our absolute best with each other. Men needing women, women needing men, I mean, just as a whole, not even so much in romantic situations, just the positives that each sex brings to any type of team dynamic. Like, so I love the aspect of team, because so many people think win 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 is just me, but it's like, no, is a real effective leader and team leader and somebody who is able to be in a team position. You can't necessarily operate selfishly. You really can't. You may still have
Right.
some selfish in there, but you have to look at it as a win win for everybody.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
Now this one is interesting. We almost through these. Um, Seeking to understand before being understood.
I like this.
Now, let me be honest. This is something that one of the things that I said last week when you mentioned this, I said one of my best habits is self-evaluation.
Okay.
Through self-evaluation, then I challenge myself not to get too comfortable, because I can feel myself a lot of times feeling like um when it says seeking to understand before being understood, it's that's not even the way I look at it, because for me, I don't necessarily care too much if I'm understood. I do want my point to have clarity and come across, whether you understand me or agree with me, then that's one thing. But I do want to make sure that I'm properly communicating. But I can find myself oftentimes, especially doing these podcasts, um, feeling like you got to be careful, like from feeling like you start knowing it all or you've heard it all before. And sometimes I can find myself naturally becoming dismissive because it's like, oh yeah, I heard this. Or I've talked about this topic a half a dozen times, so I already know my answer. I know my thought process behind this. Regardless of what you're about to say, whatever you're about to say, I already heard it. Let me tell you why I think you're wrong. Like I can get in that mode. So I'll
Right.
be like, you approach every conversation like it's a brand new conversation. You can't approach a topic or a conversation like, yeah, I've already talked about this 10 times already. Because when you do that, then you will miss something.
See
And
what
you're not communicating as far as give and take relationship as far when it comes to thoughts.
when I looked at understand and then be understood, I looked at it more as the and power could be the wrong word because I don't mean power in a negative way, but the power dynamic that you hold when you can understand somebody else first. Because
Right.
as you understand their level of comprehension, their level of understanding, their level of whatever it is that we're doing right now, where we have to be trying to understand and be understood, when you can understand them better, more first, then it helps you figure out how I need to behave to be able to be best understood. If
Right.
I know that you are coming from a place where our languages don't even match each other, I have to approach that person differently so that they can hopefully maybe understand me differently, right? Or
Right.
understand me accurately. Now, does that mean that you're always going to be understood? I believe that's probably not true. But I think that if
Right.
we go into these things trying to understand the person more than us being understood, that takes some of the
Mm-hmm.
ego away. That puts
Right.
us in the space of maybe a little bit more of humility, right? And those are two things that a leader has to have. Those are two things that a highly successful person has to be able to manage and dance with, is when to put ego aside or pride aside for that matter.
Right.
Or just differences. Maybe it isn't even
Ooh,
ego, just differences.
you know, that's one thing. This is I thought of this thought you can become so good at something that you actually start becoming bad at it. And that's one of the things that I thought, like, especially when it comes to conversations, debates, podcasting, you can I can, if I don't check myself, I can get so good at it that I actually become bad at it. And just simple, just like I was saying, okay, talking, communication, having dialogue, debate. Yeah, you can get good at it, but once you feel that you know it to the point that your ears start shutting down and you're not listening as much anymore, you actually can become bad at it.
Sure. Sure.
Like, so it's like, oh, I done got so good at this that I've actually gotten bad at it. And that's the
Well,
part that I try to keep myself like, okay, you got to keep yourself in check. Don't treat any conversation like you already know what the next person is going to say.
so this is where authenticity comes into play, and this is where, oh, the word I'm looking for has just completely left my mind. But this is this is where authenticity comes into play, I feel like. Um, but I also think that if you're trying to incorporate, better habits, more effective habits, I think there's a part of selfishness that has to still be in there somewhere, right? Because you do have to have duty and diligence to self. But I think that the part about understand first and then be understood. I don't know why. Out of all seven of them, I think that one hit me the most. I think I liked that one the most because again, it goes back to speaking to the aspect of anything that we involve ourselves with.
Hmm. Okay. Anna, Yehukanan, anybody else want to jump in on this?
What was the
Oh
concept
shoot,
again?
you ain't paying attention.
I just jumped in, and so I'm trying to
You said
catch up
understand
on what
without being
the.
understood. I want to make sure I
Oh,
got that correct.
Yes,
oh.
understand first, and then understand first, and then be understood.
Right. Understand before being understood. Isn't
Well, what makes me think about that is a lot of the times I want people to understand my point of view and where I'm coming from, but I don't do the same for the other person as far as um, understanding them and hearing them out, listening to them. So I'm making any adjustment as far as understanding, from a more receptive standpoint, and then you know hopefully that can cause a chain reaction as far as kind of like hearing each other out in a sense, like you want to understand this person's position even though you may not agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Just having that a sense of humility or selflessness to at least hear or listen to the person, whether if you know what they're going to say or not, because they can say something that you were anticipating them to say, and then they say something totally different. So um, the listening part is key in that, as far as getting the putting someone else's understanding before yours, um, and then you're applying your understanding in a more receptive way, not in a way that may trigger somebody, or and vice versa. So you have to show a great sign of humility to be able to do that, and not a lot of people um, have that humility as far as using that concept in regards to understanding before being understood. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. Did we freeze up? Q, I think you're muted.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'm just muted. Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry.
Let me see. Is there anything else as far as the 7 highly effective? Any of the other ones you wanted to touch on, Nikki? I did have a couple of the areas I wanted to
Like
examine.
the last two are still good. Synergy, and then sharpen the saw. So again, synergy. It said embrace. This is where you embrace diversity. This is where you embrace differences. This is where you embrace, the things about other people that are not like you, and find those ways within those differences to collaborate and fucking make magic, right? And I mean, and it seems like they all kind of go back to the same thing. Like, so as I'm thinking about all 7 of these and how they all are done in unison with other people, is it possible to be a highly effective person by yourself? Can you be a highly effective person with no team?
I think in areas, yes, but
Okay.
not in all areas.
Okay.
I think you can be a highly effective business person, especially in today's day with tech and online. You can run an empire by yourself. But at some point, when it comes to relationships, communication, conflict resolution, that requires interaction between other people. And some of the people who are highly effective in certain areas are highly defective in other areas, especially communication. If they don't work on some of those things that's mentioned.
Okay. He said highly effective and highly ineffective.
I said defective. You're defective.
I'm trying to say it nicely.
Defective. This is broken.
I
Your
like
relationship skills are broken.
right. Yeah. That's not definitely, you're not going to have very highly effective skills if those skills are broken. You're not going to have a very successful relationship of any.
And, you know, I can give you an example, and this is something that you may not notice as much, but people who operate in the corporate world, highly effective people that are really weird, IT people.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
very good at what they do, but they don't, the people connection interaction gene is missing with a lot of IT people. And if you
Okay.
ever try to talk to them, they just real strange. The way they communicate is kind of off. They're very good. They know how to do stuff that most people can't do when it comes to the IT world and getting the network up and keeping things going. But try to have a 5-minute conversation with them, and it's difficult oftentimes because that's an area that they haven't cultivated.
I beg to differ because I know an IT guy that I used to fellowship with, and he can communicate fairly well in regards to interacting and not using the IT type mindset or whatever. So I beg to differ. There may be a small percentage of the
No, don't give me the exception to the rule. Let me ask you, have you met 5 IT people? Let's get a decent sample size. Like in the corporate world, have you dealt with 5 IT people?
Yes, I have, but not to the level to where we were buddy buddy. This will be the only one I would say that were buddy buddy as far as like interacting with that person outside of the workforce. All the other ones more so inside of the workforce.
Okay. Well, I don't think that qualifies unless you have a large enough sample size.
Well, that's your opinion, but
that is my opinion. But I use that.
But there is one. But there is all you need is one, and I'm pretty sure there's more.
No, I disagree with that. So if Nikki
that's
says,
fine.
Nikki says all men are dogs and they're terrible, because I was in this relationship for 25 years and the one guy that I actually had a long relationship was awful and terrible. Therefore, all men are, I would argue you didn't have a big enough sample size.
Right.
If everyone says, oh, church is awful and everybody's out to get you, then I would disagree. If somebody said church is wonderful and God speaks through the man of God and the people are all great, I would disagree with that too. You have to have a large enough sample size to be able to give a well-rounded opinion, good or bad.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I mean, it's, that's my thought. That's my
I agree with that.
And you
point taken, sir.
Okay, let me run. You know what? I got a beer about to freeze in the freezer.
So go get that beer then, or the bottle burst.
I probably got about 15 minutes for a bust. Let me ask you this real quick.
Is this a bad habit too?
I do. I have a bad habit of putting beer in the freezer and knowing I ain't gonna have time to get back to it. But let's. I like to break things down in categories.
Okay.
Tell us, and this is for anybody. Tell us a poor gender habit that you have.
A poor gender habit.
What does that mean?
Poor gender habit. As a man, you have a unproductive habit or way of thinking or way of operating as a man or as a woman. If you're a woman, like what are some poor things? So for a woman, could potentially be too independent where I don't want a man to open the door. I have a habit of saying, nope, I can get it myself. Like, okay, maybe they think that's a good habit, maybe it's not. But some of those things that's just an example that I thought of off the top. Poor gender habit. Now I'm trying to think.
I think as a woman,
I can say for me. Oh, I'm sorry, Nikki. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ava. Go ahead.
No, I can say for me, as a person, I don't really necessarily say as a woman, but as a person, like I am high stress. I procrastinate until the very last minute. And then I'm like, okay, fuck, let me get it to hurry up and get it all done. And then I get it done. but I feel like, yeah, I procrastinate too much.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely one of them, and that was passed down to me. That was passed down to me by my mother. So that's something that I had to work against all constantly. Okay, with gender habit, I'm trying to think like, what is something that as a man, like, Q, you got to get better at this. What's a poor gender habit? You know what? I think I'm a pretty good guy gender wise. Do I stereotype too often? I don't. I think my stereotypes are right. I think I have fair stereotypes a lot of time. I don't know. Do you have any, Nikki? If not, I'm gonna jump to the next.
The one that I think the one that affects me the most out of any for a gender specific habit would be something that also kind of correlates with like, you know, an independent woman's mindset is, you know, I don't need help. And not so much I don't need help, but I'm not willing to ask for it from people that I probably should ask for it, considering the nature of the relationship, of whatever level that may be, out of fear of they're not going to be able to follow through. Right. So kind of slit my own throat sometimes in situations where after the fact, there have been a few times where the person I was maybe not too sure of how they would respond in a certain situation actually responded exactly how I needed them to respond. I just went out on scared woman energy or protect me energy and not allowed a man to help, or not allowed a man to insert himself in a space where I really needed him to, or wanted him to, or would have benefited from him being or doing. I just kind of didn't allow that to happen out of my own insecurities or fears. And that's something I try to be mindful of, you know, if I have, you know, men or males who are close to me, to be able to allow myself to ask for help, even if I'm told no, right? To be able to be okay with knowing that sometimes you do need help and there are people who can help you. So let them do that.
Right. Now, as I was thinking, I think one of my bad habits is I oftentimes I think I shut down in the presence of a strong agenda feminist conversation. There's certain things, if I hear, not just me hearing it, but I can tell that there's an agenda that goes along with it, then I'll shut down quickly. Now, in fairness, as a free thinker, I don't think you should shut down on anything until you've actually heard the facts and deciphered the truth from ration and so forth like that. But I think that's one of those things gender-wise. If someone's given a hard what I feel like is an anti-man agenda, or they're trying to highlight clear differences between, you know, social gender privileges, then I shut down really quickly. And I don't think that's a good habit. I think, again, you want to understand first, you know, to be understood. So I would say that can be a negative in my box. It's something that I have to catch. I gotta be aware of it. Like, up, Q, you shut down. Don't shut down on it. Let's listen first. And before you say you disagree or they got this agenda, let's find out why you disagree. And let's also find out what elements of this you agree with.
Right.
Be objective. So that's one that I'd give myself.
That's a great habit though. Like, kudos to you, because there's some situations I let my lack of objectivity get in the way for sure. Even though I still want to understand before being understood, some shit I feel I get in this ignorant space maybe where I don't care to understand where you're coming from, and that's not fair.
Okay, so I
Well,
guess I can
go ahead.
say that for me, a gender, I guess it would be kind of on the same lines. Like I shut down as well, but I'm a non-confrontational person. So, like, if I get with somebody that is really toxic or likes to fight, I will shut down that I've just walked away from. And I won't, you won't know. Like, I'll just kind of slowly retract myself from you and your life, and you won't even realize that I'm gone. So
yeah,
that's how I like deal with things. Well, I used to deal with them that way.
gotta get closer to the microphone. You
Now
sound
I
like you're
kind
far
of
away
just
from your mic.
say my piece. I mean, it is what it is. Let the cards lay where they may lay. But I used to shut down and just leave you
Anna,
alone altogether. If
can you hear me, Anna?
like the way you were talking to me, or
You sound like you're on
some of
speakerphone.
the topics that you said, like if they didn't sit right with me, I just be like, okay, I gotta let you go. And that was a bad habit.
Okay, I still got you for the most part. Make sure you're speaking close to your mic. It sounds like you're far away from your car microphone or your phone. I don't know if you connected Bluetooth or not, but
Sounds like speaker.
yeah. Okay,
Couldn't
here's
hear me?
another one. We can hear you, just sound distant. That's all. Let's see. So, racial habits.
Bad racial habits.
Good or bad? Let's go. Good. What are we just talking about habits? It don't have to be bad,
Okay,
but good
okay.
or bad.
We went with the bad personal gender habit, but
Okay.
so
Do you have a good gender habit?
oh man. Yes, I do. I am a good gender habit. Shit.
I am a good.
I mean, I like to believe that a good gender habit, man. I don't. Is it a gender thing or a role thing? I don't know, but I'm a hell of a mom. I'm a hell of a mom. It's a great gender habit. I believe that there are plenty of good, wonderful, just wonderful men out there, right? Like I don't lead with the space of all men are dogs and fuck.
Right.
Like no, I still believe in love. Even though it's been a long time since I've experienced it, I still believe in love. I still believe in happily ever after if that's what
I
you
have a
want.
question for you when you're
I
done,
still
Nikki.
believe in things.
That's a good one. I agree with that. You hooking on?
I have a question for Nikki, really quick. Nikki, do you like romance?
Yes.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which habit. That's not a gender habit. That's not a habit. I have something that falls under the category, but it's really a general habit. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Racial habits. You know what? Oh, you know what? Okay, so this is all coming together. So when it comes to racial habits, I do have I have a bad habit of stereotyping in private company.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I was saying, I think it's a bad habit to vocalize things in private that you're not comfortable saying in public. That's a bad habit, and you see time and time again where it bites people in their ass, because the stuff that you say behind closed doors eventually it slips out, and then people say something, and well, I didn't mean to say it like that. I didn't. Yeah, you did. You just didn't mean for anybody to hear you say that.
That part.
Now, if you really didn't mean it, then don't say it.
Right.
So you need to change the way you express your language if you really don't feel that way. So one of the things is, and this is what made me think about this. I don't speak ill of women, or I don't use derogatory slurs towards women, not even personally. Like, even if I'm just with a bunch of men, or if I'm by myself, I never refer to women with the B word ever. I don't even feel that way.
Right.
I don't let that language come out of my mouth. Now, and this is the crazy thing, I use the B word very often. A lot. I never use it in reference to a woman or somebody. I use it in reference to men a lot of times. I use it in reference to whining, complaining people,
Right.
but I never ever use that in reference to me having some type of issue with a woman, or even me that's not language that comes out of my mouth, because I don't agree with it.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think it takes great discipline and power for men to not call women bitches, even if they're bitches. I think it takes great discipline for a man to use.
That's one of those things. It's already, if you say it, then it's in you. So then you got to ask yourself, why do you have that negative? And not only that, when you say it towards, it's like you're using that term itself to be demeaning towards the gender itself. Like for instance, I had at my office, there was not long ago, there was one of my coworkers who was dealing with a company, and he went to a certain business, and he said that the person there didn't treat him favorably, and he got mad and started mumbling some words in Spanish under his breath, talking about the punta negro, this is like, oh. And then they try to say, oh, well, that's not how he meant it like that, and that word doesn't translate the same. I said, yeah, no, it do.
He knows what he said. He knows exactly what he said. Yeah.
You called her a black bee because you was mad, and you tried to say it in Spanish, like we don't understand certain words, number one. And then number two, not only did you call her a bee, but you used the color of her skin to, in your mind, be further be more derogatory towards it. You know exactly what you were doing. I don't rock with that.
I feel you on that.
And why does the color even make them lesser? Why does them being a woman make them lesser? See, people use derogatory terms in order to try to lessen the value of that person. So if I'm calling a woman a bee, then it's used to lessen them, or to categorize them without acknowledging the individual. Or if you used their ethnicity before, then you're using their ethnicity as a way to that you feel that it's demeaning their ethnicity. So I'm like, I don't rock with none of it. But my whole thing is, that was just a personal example. But if you don't say that you don't feel that or mean that, and if you didn't mean it, then you wouldn't even say it in private.
So going along with that, then Q, the only thing, I mean, the first thing that jumps to my mind is non-Black people using the N-word. That's definitely, I don't want, I mean, I don't even know how this falls into habits per se, but for people who have heard Black people say, nobody else should be saying it, right? If majority of Black people are saying, don't use this word, and you got a few friends who are Black who are saying, oh no, but it's okay. If I had this conversation with a white woman a couple weeks ago, I said, all it takes is for one Black person to say, hey, look, I don't like that you use that word. Whether you're singing a song lyric or not, I don't like that you use that word. One, I'm not going to, because I'm not fucking ignorant. I don't have to. I can choose to just fit a one single word out of 3 minutes of a song, right? It's not that hard to do. it's those that are continuing to fight for the permission to say it as though there's a reason. Why? Find another word. There's so many things in the vocabulary. Choose another word.
And let's be even more specific with that.
So you
For
want
instance,
to say it. You want to use the word.
right? Why do you feel like you're entitled to say that? So the part of it, I put it like this. Even with the B word that I was saying, and again, I use the B word often and a lot. I just don't use it directly towards women.
Right.
But so when we're saying like, why wouldn't I use that word? But women can use that word talking about themselves.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. That ain't my business. Number two,
Right.
when we talk about trying to belittle or demean or devalue people, where did the devalue of women come from primarily? Men, right? So me as a man, I should not be the one using that because the demeaning, belittling, or devaluing came from my gender.
Society label.
So in a likewise matter, going back to the N word, the demeaning, belittling, devaluing of black people, where did it come from? White people. Why do you want to use that word?
Right.
You
Period.
are the primary antagonist of, you know what I'm saying? So that you shouldn't even, you personally shouldn't have a desire to want to use that word. Just like
Oh,
I personally desire, I wouldn't want to speak ill toward a woman in that way.
right. Right.
Because we know where the oppression comes from.
That part.
There's
There's so many excuses and rationalizations and justifications that surround those things too. So at the same token, what you're talking about, how many men? Oh, well, women call each other bitches all the time, so no big deal if I do. No, like you said, that's not your business. That's a woman's space.
That's their space.
So, when you hear white people say shit like, "Oh, well, y'all be saying it in music all the time, and it's in all of this, and it's all that's not our fucking place.
Nope.
That's not our lane. That our vote doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But you are told not to use it, so it would just be in your best bet to just choose to use any other word out of the vocabulary.
So even when I'm at the bar or the club and the Too Short song come on, what's my favorite word? I
You
just
don't
mute it. It ain't coming out. What's my favorite word? That ain't my word. That ain't my word. And it'd be funny because people, that's when people be like, "Oh, this is my opportunity."
right.
Men be like, "Oh, this is my opportunity." Like, nah, that ain't my opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I'm very adamant about that same exact example, but with the N word, right? So let me be in the club and is the N word in every 4 seconds of a song lyric. I'm rapping everything but that word, and I make sure that like you can see my mouth does not move when that part comes on. And as soon as that last vowel is given, I'm right back to the next word. Like it's literally that fucking easy. That's it. Just like it's that easy back to the B word. It's literally that easy.
Right. Anybody want to jump in before I go to the next one? Anna, you can now.
And that was good or bad race.
Oh yeah.
Racial.
I'm preoccupied right now.
Okay.
I can admit that I have been one of those. I have grown up. I have been raised. I was raised by Black men. So it was just like a habit. Like it wasn't like, it was just some things that we just said, when I lived a rough life. So I'm sitting there on the block with the guys and it just natural, it's just like something that we just all say. It wasn't like, but I get it now as I'm older. I'm like, oh, okay, like we shouldn't even been, utilizing it, period. But, like when you're in that environment and you have been raised in that environment and you have been, I'm a hood chick through and through. So when you've been raised in the hood, you've been raised in the ghetto, you've been raised by certain type of people. For me, it was nothing but Black men. Yes, I am Hispanic. Well, I don't know what I am really. I'm a mutt. But when you've been raised in that, like it is a hard habit to break. But I can say that I have been definitely guilty of that more times than I can ever imagine. Another bad trait of mine, I think that the walking away was a really bad trait because I used to not give any explanations. I would just like, never mind.
That's a bad habit. Yeah.
It really was a bad habit.
Just walking away.
Just walking away. I don't, I don't feel like I didn't feel like I owed anybody an explanation for, like, what you did. You know how you behave. I don't like it. I don't need to give you an explanation. So bye.
And that's the tough one because people feel like since it's a replacement, like I could go off and snap and cuss you out and do this, but it's better for me to just walk off. Okay. You replace one bad habit for another lesser bad habit, but neither one of those are good habits, and neither one of them really help for effective communication long term.
And I can absolutely agree with you. That's why in one of our previous conversations, you had asked I think it was when we said it in person, and I told you that mine was communicating. Something that we learned, and that was communication. Because I wasn't, like I told y'all before, like I didn't grow up with effective communication. My parents told me to shut the hell up and sit down. Why do I have to do this? Because I told you to do it.
Right. Right.
So, being raised in that thing, like, and then not really, and then that dealing with that so young, and then being in on the streets, like you don't really have anybody to glean from with that kind of effective communication, because we all calling each other the N-word.
Right. And but it comes to a point you got to start challenging the people around you, like even like, okay, so one word that I did finally break away from is the F word.
Were you trying to? You were trying to break up your relationship with the F word?
No, I was trying to break away from using the F word, and I'm talking about the gay slur F word.
You getting rid of the F word? You was trying to get rid of the F word?
Yeah, because it's I'm talking about the gay derogatory F word.
Oh, I was like, FUCK is fine. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
I was like, I could have swore I heard you say it recently.
Oh yeah. But the other word, like, no, I had to do away with that one. And again,
because why?
Because that community has stated, okay, two things. That community, number one, that community has stated that they don't like that word being used.
Right.
Now, let me say this. On my argument, I have the argument again. Well, I never actually used that word towards a gay person. That was my initial argument. Like, well, no, when I say the word, I don't say it to the actual gay people. I'm saying it towards people I know, or people that's not. But if we think about this deeper, if I'm using this word to demean or devalue another person, and that word that's being used refers to people of that community, if I'm calling someone a representative of a community and I'm using it in a way to demean them, then even without me talking to someone directly from that community, it's still me belittling that community.
Agree.
That's where you got to be mature. Oh, well, no, I ain't say it to a gay person. Okay. But if I said it to a straight person and I meant that to belittle them, then it's still, you're still speaking ill of that community. So no, let's get rid of it. Do I have to say it? No, I don't.
Right. I mean, and this is where I think it's just important to look at the words that we choose. And I'm very, very intentional with words. Even if I don't have the largest vocabulary or always say words right all the time, I'm very particular about the words that I use, especially when I'm angry, especially when I'm emotional, especially when I'm in a high
Right.
in a high space, because words are hurtful. Words are intentional. Words have meaning.
Right.
Even if they don't mean the same thing to us, they may mean something to somebody else. And if I'm using a derogatory anything to try to inflict pain anywhere, that kind of
Right.
makes me a shitty human.
And then I got the substitute works well. I can punk ass. It works. It works well. Instead of me calling the F,
Right.
that's F. No, it don't punk ass. No. It works. It rolls very easy.
Right.
off the tongue.
Right. But is that just as inflammatory?
The community hasn't said it is yet.
Okay.
Because you know what? I don't think about that at all. But at a period in time, calling somebody was a punk was that in certain demographics, that was a way of calling someone gay,
Yeah.
they're a punk, or they. So yeah, that's not a word that's it's not acknowledged the same way as the F word was. But if they, if that was like, yeah, I probably have to find another word. I talked to my sister when she uses the M word, the little person word. I'm like, yeah, you can't say that no more.
Oh.
Or no,
you can't say
that one is
word
not.
no
But
more?
she uses the she used the R word a lot. I'm like, yeah, you can't say the R word anymore.
We know what you're fucking talking about, but we
What's the R word?
can't. Like, oh my gosh. And you right,
retarded.
right. But
Oh,
the R word has definitely slipped out of my mouth. It definitely has, because some shit just be R word.
yeah, for real. I think, can I be honest? I think that this culture, this era that we're in right now is so fucking sensitive to every single thing
Yeah, they are.
that you say. Like, bro, it ain't about you. Shut the fuck up. You're stuck on a popsicle or something. Like, if we're not talking to you, then why? Because honestly, like, the same people that are fighting for their rights, they're the ones utilizing the N word, or in my case, utilizing like wetback. Like, bitch, what? Like, crazy.
I do agree with you on a lot of levels where people are way too sensitive. But kind of for me, that's more of a self-examination thing. And one of the things that I did, this goes back to the whole Black Lives Matter movement and all that stuff was going on 2017, 2000, every 2 or 3 years, then there's going to be some crazy stuff, and it actually gets news. It's going on constantly, but it actually get news attention every 2 or 3 years for whatever reason. But one of the things, especially after George Floyd, and even before that, Alton Sterling, I think 2016, 17, the Kaepernick stuff, all of that, and people were a lot of black people were appalled, like, hey, we got this, Rodney King, we got it on tape. Alton Sterling, we got it. Fernando Castile, we got it. And like, okay, what do you say now? This is clear right in front of your face. And people were still in denial. Well, we don't know what actually happened. And some of those things, like, it is so plain and clear. How do you not see it? It's right in front of your face. But what I did, I said to myself, the same way that so many people are blind when it comes to racial issues, I don't want to be that same person in another arena. Because I could sit there and be like, oh, how can you be so blind? You don't see this black on, the white on black violence and the police brutality. How do you not see it? And then in the same light, then I don't see how women are being treated towards men. And I don't see how the LGBTQIA community is being treated. Like, you can still be just as ignorant in another category. And I'm like, I don't want to be the same people who I criticize in this area, I don't want to be that same person in another area. So I always,
It's the IA.
I look, I pay attention, I examine myself.
I like that.
You said LGBTQIA. That's the IA.
QI. I forgot. I looked at all that. I did a whole podcast about that at one point in time because I was literally. I don't know if you remember this, Nikki. I was going to do a video talking about how they need to get rid of some of these letters. Like, y'all got too many letters with the LBG.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting up here, I'm about to go in talking about y'all got too many damn letters. I start looking into it and to see what all of the different letters mean. I'm like, yeah, that is a little different from the last letter. Yeah, that is a little okay. Well, never mind. I guess you need all the letters then. That's fine. But
Q, to that point, and I just shared a video last week. I don't know if I put it in Facebook in our Freethinkers page. Maybe I did, but there was a woman, and she was a lesbian woman, and she was like in probably her 50s or 60s. She was like, take this from an OG lesbian, like original version lesbian, just like them old school lesbians, you know. She was like, we're LGBT. That's it. She's like, all them extra letters added onto it. She's like, you know, even within the own community, you know, there is certainly rifts between, you know,
sure.
the acknowledgement of something past heterosexual or homosexual relationships, right? You asked, what did you ask? What was the what?
The IA is
So
intersex and
It seems that new letters were added.
Thank you, because
IA.
I was curious too. I just didn't want to
look into it, because see, asexual does not directly fit under the category as any of the first four letters. Intersex, that doesn't fit directly under the category of the first four letters either. So it's they all stand they're all different letters
what
that stand apart.
Intersex and what the fuck?
I don't know. I looked up that stuff a long time ago. You got to look it up. Just Google it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is actually
like homework.
They are
I
differences.
really don't care.
We got lesbian, gay, bisexual.
Ooh, okay, Anna. Hold on.
Questioning, intersex, asexual, and then plus is all the other things that are not the first.
Anna. So Anna, you just sound you take the same sentiment as the lesbian person that Nikki was referring to when you say, "Oh, I just don't care."
I really don't. Like, I honestly, here's my stance on this.
So why don't you care though?
I was just about to get to that. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody is a person at the end of the day, right? Your sexual orientation is none of my damn business. I don't give a fuck who you fucking or what you fucking. Do I have to acknowledge that what your sexual orientation is? I mean, no, you don't have to acknowledge that I'm a straight woman and that I like dick. So why do I have to acknowledge that, you know, you like cow dick or horse dick or fucking whatever the fuck you want? Like, I don't, as long as I don't disrespect you, then why the fuck do I care?
Hey, you mentioned something about this generation being or the people nowadays are being sensitive. Let me add a little something to the mix in regards to that. Pronouns. So, you know, people want to be identified with a certain, you know, group. So if you have the LGBTQ and then you have the IA, and you know, you see this person and you say you're a T, for example, and they like, no, I'm an A. You know that goes into the mix of the sensitivity of the desensitization as far as you know, somebody being offended, you calling them a T when they saying I'm really an A in that regard. So, you know, that's your opinion. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I've been in that situation right there to where they're like, oh, that's not my pronouns. Well, okay, that's fine. What do you like to be called? I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect you, but I'm not going to sit there and care about what you're doing. And I'm not going to go in and do a bunch of research about your community because you're not doing any research about mine. I got thousands and thousands of fucking immigrants or, children that are sitting in cages that y'all don't give a fuck about. So you're murdering black men and black women for no fucking reason. And you think I give a fuck about what you want to be called? Like,
But is
let's
that
be
a
real
valid
here.
reason to be insensitive to someone else just because you feel like people are not being
I'm
sensitive
not
towards
being
you?
insensitive though. What I said was I will respect you and call you what you want me to call you, but I'm not going to put any effort into learning about what you are unless you are part of my circle. And let's say you were my sister and you're like, "Hey, I like to be called, I don't know, they." And I am AI or IA or whatever it is. And then I'd be like, okay, well, because you are directly affected, I'm directly affected by that in that aspect, then I want to know what that particular thing is so that I don't hurt you. But in other people's aspects, I feel like if it's a problem for you, if I call you a she and you want to be called a they, then tell me. Okay, that solves that. I'm not trying to
So,
disrespect you, but I'm not going to openly try to figure out everything and figure out how to help you. And like we have all issues. You handle your issues. I won't disrespect you. We handle our issues. You just don't respect us. I just don't feel like I have to educate every second that you want to put another letter to the LGBTQ community.
so in
That's my
retrospect, let me
opinion.
make sure. In retrospect, let me make sure I heard you correctly. If it's a family member, you would,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Hello?
can hear you.
Hello? No, I'm saying if she can hear me, because she
I
kept
hear
saying
both of
hello,
y'all. I hear both of y'all.
but she can't. She probably can't hear me because she kept saying hello.
Somebody on the payphone. Somebody said it.
Okay, well,
You,
Ready?
you,
just go.
can-
You
you can
can
go
go now.
ahead. You can
Hello?
go ahead, Q. You can go ahead. You can go ahead, Q. I don't think she
Well,
can hear me.
Nikki, you were about to say something. Go ahead, Nikki.
I
Hello?
would. It's where understand and then be understood has to be applied,
Oh, yeah.
is my first thought. Because while I don't necessarily disagree, because I too I grammatically have an issue with they them. I do. Grammatically, I have an issue with that, right? Am I going to not call you what you asked to be called? No, I'm going to call you whatever you asked to be called, and I'm going to do my absolute duty to make sure that I'm respectful in that, because it ain't just like it's not hard for me to not use the N-word. It's not hard for me to remember what you want me to call you or address you as you request to be addressed. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine with me. Right? Like I don't have an issue with that. Um but I also feel like this is where the of things comes into play. The win-win mentality has to come into play.
Right.
Because I don't have to care. I don't have to actually really care about a thing to still be respectful in a space to where it works for both of us.
Uh-huh.
That's my first
I'm
thought.
sorry about that. I think I lost signal or something because I was talking and then all of a sudden y'all were like circles. They were just circles.
Yeah, because it got really windy and then you just kept saying hello and we were like, hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, my fault. I hope y'all, I don't know what y'all heard, but I don't
We
try
heard
to
you. We heard everything you
disrespect.
said.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my thoughts is, hmm, okay. One of the things I heard you say, if it were my sister or somebody that you knew, then. But my thought is, what if your mindset is currently preventing someone from becoming your sister? Like maybe if you take a different mindset in how you approach that, then you may gain new friends, new sisters, new allies that you did not have, a new community that you didn't have before. Why do we have to wait until there's someone we know until we say, oh, this is, since I have, and you find that a lot of times when a parent has a child in that community, or a brother has a sibling in that community, then there's this, okay, we want to get understanding, we want to be a little bit more like, why do we have to get to that point? If we take the mindset that we are all family or potentially family, you're all my brothers and sisters, or potentially can be my brothers and sisters. If I take that mindset now, then I don't have to wait until I actually know a person. And the reason I say that, just take it a step further, one of the biggest problems that especially us as Black people had were white people didn't have enough exposure of us. Their primary influence that they saw on us was how we were depicted on TV and in music, and they just didn't know regular Black people and the regular stuff that we did just like them. So, and even still to this day, we have to break through about a half dozen stereotypes before a person be like, oh, Q, yeah, he pretty cool dude. But they got to break through all of these stereotypes that's been ingrained in them before they can even get to that point. I'm just saying, I'm trying to get to the place where I don't want to be that person. So that's all. I'm just challenging that a little bit.
Okay. I can rebuttal that a little bit. Because I do have friends that are in the LGBTQIA community. I have quite a bit of them. And it doesn't get, how do I say this? I do say that it doesn't matter to me, like as far as what all the letters mean. But again, there is a sensitivity that I do have for that, so I'm not just going to be outwardly rude. And so when I do have friends that are in that community, I do like I said, if it was my sister, or, a really close friend, I would find out information and educate myself a little bit more. Hold on, just
Sure. Oh, okay. Well, she coming back. So then this is my rebuttal again to this. You don't want to become one of those people, and those people that I'm referring to is, again, I can take it back to my argument. It's I have this view of people as, these type of people. I have this view of you as a whole. Oh, Black people are like this, and Black people this, and Black people lazy, and Black people don't. Oh, but not you, Q. You're different than the rest of them.
That part. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You just took the time to get to know me.
Right.
And if you got to take the time to know other people as well, you see that everybody's individuals.
Did the thing go?
Yeah, you went out a little bit.
Mike, are y'all? Oh shit.
Yeah, you might be heading out again. So again, that's one of those other dangers when you say, oh, well, if one of my sisters, or I have friends like this, and with those friends, then I'm cool with them, but it's the rest of them who are not my friends who act a certain way. And that can also be off-putting to your actual friends, whether you know it or not. So they looking at like, how you can't look at me like I'm different and I'm not. I am one of them.
Right.
Are we still on a habit? Yeah, it's kind of on habits, even though we veered off a little. This still is about habits and practices. Yeah, well, shoot, we almost at 2 hours. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on before we start wrapping up a little bit?
No, I mean, I don't even really think that we talked about habits in the way that I thought we were going to talk about habits. So, like, I thought
Run it down. Grab the steering wheel. Go ahead.
No,
grab the steering wheel. Go ahead.
I don't think the steering wheel needs to be grabbed. I'm just always so blown away how I can sometimes think that maybe we're going to go a certain direction and then we start and we totally don't go that direction at fucking all. I am impressed that we came together on the same book topic and we
Right.
researched those particular things. You know, I think what I wanted to talk a little bit about too is just like what it takes to create habits, what it takes to break habits, right?
Oh yeah, I had that written down too. Go ahead.
You know, and I don't, you know, I don't have the textbook definition of these things, but I think that, you know, when you hear the word habit, I think that's what most people kind of are most interested in is creating good habits. How do you create good habits?
Right.
You know, having bad habits, how do I break bad habits? And I think that it kind of goes back to what we discussed in the very beginning when we started is you've got to have goals so that you have an end game, but
Right.
you got to have the system. The system is what's going to take you to your goal, or your lack of system is what's going to keep you from your goal. And everything that you do in between the starting line and the finish line is going to be manifesting and those goals coming to fruition, or you being the reason why you do not manifest and your goals do not come to fruition. Your habits do not change. They stay poor. You know, in looking at a lot of addictions that people have, whether it's porn addiction or sex addiction or drug addiction or alcohol addiction or cigarette addiction or you name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is for me where I've kind of been tapping into questioning or just really exploring more about the way that I was raised with the 12 steps, right? And we've talked about this before. You've asked me before, like, how can I believe that the 12 steps work, but I don't subscribe to higher power the same way, or I don't subscribe to the theory that you have to seek guidance from this other person because I can't do it by myself. And I do not subscribe to that. I understand why that works for a lot of people. So I never knock that if somebody wants to go that route. But I don't subscribe to you can only achieve, you know, a new path if you give up you and let somebody else take control of the reins. Now, if that works for you, fine. I'm very much a mind over matter type of person.
Sure.
I'm very much a accountability. I got me in this. I've got to figure out what behaviors I'm doing that are contributing to me staying in this. And then, of course, creating the plan. So changing people, places, and things, which is a big, huge thing in recovery. But that applies everywhere, whether it's substance related or not. You have to change people, places, and things because those three right there are going to be the spaces from in which you get the most triggers, the most
Mm-hmm.
the most challenges, you know, the most detours, the most distraction, right? And so if I'm trying to stay on track with my goal, my system has to be to change people, places, and things, to maintain instilling in myself the necessity to change certain behavior, to not pick up cigarettes, to, you know, reduce my sugar consumption, to stay my ass in the gym, right? So it's not about, oh, I want to go to the gym. It's what behaviors am I doing leading up to this and get my ass into the gym. You know, talking about it is one thing, but obviously the work is what comes, the work is where it comes into play.
Right. No, I do. It's weird because I don't agree with religion the way a lot of people do, and everything has to be without. I do believe in parts of it, and I do think that there is a period. I do believe in the principle of when Jesus was talking to Nicodemus at night and was saying, "Hey, you got to be born again in order. You can't receive this, or you can't receive this the way that we do things unless you come to me as a child, or you have to basically be born again. You have to start over. You have to get rid of your old mind and the way that you're used to doing things. Now, that doesn't mean that you totally give up, because there's an element, God still lives inside of you also. You just have to tap into another part of you that's inside of you. And everybody don't agree with that, but that's what I believe. So it's kind of one of those things where I go back to boxing. I had a lot of street fights throughout my life. I had a good number of street fights. When I stepped into that boxing ring, my trainer, my coach, okay, let's start with your feet. I ain't even gonna let you throw a punch first. Let's start with your feet. Let's work on positioning. Let's work on the distance between, spacing. Then let me show you how to throw a jab. I've thrown a whole lot of punches over the course of let me show you how to properly throw a jab boxing. And then let me show you the cross. Let me show you the hook. Let me show you the uppercuts. Let me show you where to put your hands, how to keep them, where to bring them back, all of that. The people who actually become successful is the ones who throw everything that they thought. Well, when I was in the street, then I did it like this. We're not in the street. If you want to learn how to properly fight, then you have to clear your mind of everything that you thought you knew and what people taught you before. And the crazy thing is, and I'll stop with this example in a second, all of that with boxing, once I started doing martial arts, you throw punches differently. So in boxing, I got to turn the punch over. When you doing martial arts, some of them you do straight, like there's a different way. And so everything that I learned in boxing, throw that out the window. I have to come wide open-minded, ready to learn in this art the way that they're going to teach me if I'm going to be successful in this art. So that's kind of just that's the way that I look at it. That's all I can say about that. Now, there will come a time when you learn it for yourself and you know it, you understand it. Then you will get a Muhammad Ali who can shuffle his feet like nobody else does. People ain't tell Muhammad Ali how to shuffle his feet. That's something, after you master the art, then you have the liberty to operate in ways that benefit you that may not benefit everybody else. If everybody else starts trying to shuffle their feet and lean back instead of put their hands up, they get knocked out. But that's something that he could do because of his skill set that nobody else can do. But you can't get to that unless you learn the fundamentals. Roy Jones, I can go down the line on a whole lot of unorthodox people who fought in ways that no trainer would teach you how to actually fight that way. But they learned the fundamentals first, which gave them the ability to turn it into their own art or their own way of doing things.
There's listening to y'all talk, both of you, Nikki and Q. There's two things that came to mind in regards to what you guys were saying. Number one is discipline. And when we have a bad habit, we try to break that bad habit, or we set a goal in mind. And I'm just speaking in general terms. We lack the discipline, and I can speak for myself as far as that goes. Like, you have this in your mind, you set it, the determination is there, but the discipline is not. And with discipline comes execution. In regards to staying disciplined, so like, let's say you want to wake up every day at 6 a.m. To get your routine going and whatnot. That takes discipline. From the time you eat your dinner to the time you go to bed, etc., etc. Another thing, because you was using boxing as a reference, as far as somebody teaching you the skills, the fundamentals, that comes with practice and repetition, because it involves muscle memory. So when you create a habit, or you have a bad habit, you're trying to stop that bad habit to create a new habit, that comes with discipline, but it also comes with practice as far as maintaining that type of muscle memory per se, to keep that good habit consistent and the bad habit inconsistent, to where it's no longer applicable or plausible to the situation.
Wow. Oh, so you said a whole lot. So when you talked about discipline, that is super fresh, and that just made me think, like, whenever you're looking to develop or break a habit, one of the first questions you should ask yourself is, what is the discipline? What discipline do I need to develop in order to recreate this new habit or to get rid of this habit? Because, man, the desire for the habit itself is not going to happen without a discipline. And sometimes there are other disciplines that doesn't seem directly related to the habit, that if you don't pay attention to that discipline, then it'll make it almost impossible for you to change the habit.
Mhm.
So some of the, I want to lose weight, or I want to change my diet.
That's people, places, and things.
Sometimes the discipline might have to be, hey, we no longer eat after 8 p.m.
Mhm.
That may have nothing to do with what you're putting in your mouth, but the discipline on setting a routine and a schedule of when you eat
Mhm.
can also affect what you eat.
Mhm. And how you eat.
So some of the things, hey, I need to get out. I need to stop drinking alcohol. Sometime a discipline is no more Sunday fun day for a while, because every time I go out on Sunday, then I'm buying up drinks.
Telling
And
you.
that's the trend for me throughout the week. And then so there's other disciplines that may not directly have anything to do with the habit, but you got to ask yourself, what disciplines do I need to develop in order to make or break this habit?
Mhm.
That's super good, man. That
Hey
makes
Q, I'm gonna
a
add
lot
to
of
I'm gonna add to that. Because everything starts in the mind. So a lot of the times our mind can get warped. To where we forget what we set our mind to do because we get sidetracked a lot. Busy lives, busy, 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 busy. We don't sit down and take a step back and think for a minute, or be like, I haven't done this in a while. You said self-examination. I haven't done this in a while. I was supposed to do this. I need to get back on that. But the discipline starts in the mind, as far as the focus that it takes to be like, I need to execute what I set out to do in the beginning and stop procrastinating as far as should I do it or should I not do it, because life happens.
right. That goes back into value system, all types of stuff. And there's one thing they said in martial arts. They said a novice does it until they get it right. A master does it until they can't do it wrong.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's certain things, like when you do a thing so many times to where you can't get it wrong, that's when you've mastered it. Just
Master.
learning how to do it till you get it right. Okay, that's good. Now you keep on doing that over and over and over till you can't get it wrong.
Mhm.
Now you've mastered it. It was one more thing that I was thinking. I had another analogy that Yuhuk and I made me think about, but it'll come back to me another time.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with this one. Based on what you said, I'll take the analogy of professional athletes, or profession. I'll just say profession. When you have a profession and you do it for a long period of time, you master whatever skill that profession requires, to the point to where it becomes second nature, like riding a bike. Even after you retire from it or go on to a different avenue or something, it's like it's still there. It hasn't left, unless you work on the discipline of changing that habit that you developed from this profession that you work for such a long time, because you basically mastered the skill of whatever profession that is. And to your point, as far as the martial art, I'll say proverb, that comes along when somebody's doing something for so long. Now they know the tricks of the trade. They can ad lib, they can maneuver and do this, that, and the third. So, I just want to throw that in the mix in regards to that, as far as mastering something and being very good at it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So since we about to jump out here, I had a couple of them. I'm gonna touch for a half a second. Poor age habits. Or age. Let me tell you, I have a bad habit of calling myself old or downplaying my. Oh man, anytime somebody says, well, at my age, then you getting like, I have this a self-awareness, a borderline insecurity just about my age, especially when I'm dealing with younger people. I'm old. I can't keep up with technology no more. Like, I'm always throwing my age out there. Like, even when people ain't ask you, like, I ain't got to be telling people how old I am or like that. It's not necessary, and it's something that I just feel. I don't know. It's always this voluntary, me giving voluntary information about how old I am or how old I feel. It's like, stop. You know what it reminds me of? It's almost one of them, you can't take a compliment well.
Right.
So, and this is something that I had to learn to stop doing too. I think I learned, I'm not sure. Oh, cute. Oh man, that's a nice shirt. I like that. Oh yeah, man, I got this Goodwill for $2. Like, ain't nobody ask you all that. You ain't got to downplay everything that you get or wear all the time.
Playing it. But I think that there's got to be a little bit of an insecurity in there somewhere.
I
Like,
think so.
I don't know yet, but there's got to be a little insecurity in there somewhere where you feel like you have to default with, oh, my ass out, be it not understanding technology. Who knows? Who knows? But there's got to be something in there. But it's also truth-based too, right? Like, so you've obviously had an experience where clearly my fucking age has prevented me from something that my kids know, or like, younger people, younger generations are involving themselves in. Like, I am very ignorant to all things that are AI, and anything in that realm, way the fuck over my head. I'm not interested in learning. I don't want to learn. I don't support it. I don't like nothing about it. Right. So I will forever be in the Stone Age when it comes to, technological advances that could potentially help me somewhere in business. I'm not interested. Right. And maybe that stunts my growth. I'm okay with that, because I also feel like our generation is the last of a dying breed. So I'm okay with it.
Absolutely.
But there's a little bit of an insecurity in there somewhere too, because there's going to be language I don't know. There's going to be just concepts that are not familiar to me, and I'm okay with that. But there's got to be a little bit of an insecurity in there somewhere.
I think so. I think it is.
Yeah.
And I think number one is like, this time goes by so fast, and it felt like yesterday I was still in my 20s. It was just a few years ago, then I was at my athletic prime, and I was still faster than everybody else, and I could still, back in I could dunk the basketball, this, and just talking about it back in my day. It's like, but that time is over. The time has passed. Just be graceful about where you're at.
I will say something real quick in regards to what you said, Q, as far as old age. Even though my body is breaking down like a used car, I don't put myself in the mindset of me being old, because if I think that, I'm going to feel that.
Right.
Even though, I'm gonna be slowing down, but however, that's when the wisdom comes into play as far as the experience. Even though you may not be as fast or as quick or as agile as you used to be, there is wisdom that can be applied as far as, like, okay, let's say you go out there with the young pups and whatnot, basketball or whatever. You have that wisdom, that knowledge, and that experience. So, like, I can still get you, young pup. Don't. don't poke your chest out like that, something like that. But
With it.
and you can see it like when you have the young end, the YNs. That's the term that I'm hearing now. The YNs going up against the OGs. Even though you have that type of battle, the OGs would be like, or let's say father and son. Like your son think he feels he's more man enough or masculine enough to challenge you, and then you have to put him in his place. Um, it all comes in the state of mind in regards to you know, saying, that I'm old and this, that, and the third. So in retrospect, it's a state of mind. But since you're working on getting yourself out of that mindset, I say personally for me, I try not to put myself in there. Even though I do have people call me old and whatnot, I don't let it bother me because I'm like, I'm not old. I'm just getting
Right.
older. And to that effect, yeah, I'm not. It's not like I'm, my bones is brittle and I'm walking with a cane, or in a wheelchair. No disrespect to them, trying to stay afloat, whatnot. I still am able to get around and move while I still can,
Right.
Mhm.
and,
And
and appreciate
that's
that.
one poor habit that, and I've actually been working on this. I think I'm getting better at it. Is just even with just leading with age. Even when you have a conversation with someone and they, oh yeah, I had to get my oil changed and I'm thinking about moving here. Well, how old are you? Oh, you got time. You this and this. And like once you start using age to kind of gauge who a person is and where they're at in their life, then it's a little bit dismissive. You're creating unnecessary disconnects a lot
Mhm.
of time. Now, when age comes into play, then you talk about it. But I would find myself, and I know a lot of other people, they lead with it.
Hmm.
And I think that's a bad habit to
If you
lead with age, and
oh,
you always want to get a gauge on how old a person is to find out what type of conversation you're gonna have. Well, just have a conversation and it'll tell you where you're gonna go with.
right, right. Yeah, if you're trying to use
I'm getting better on
for
that. I'm working on it.
sake of having the upper hand, then yeah, definitely a bad habit. I'm trying to think.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know if I play the default old card yet. And I don't know, maybe that's because I don't feel old. I
Right.
don't feel old in my bones. I don't feel old in my spirit. I don't feel old in my
Right.
mindset. Like sometimes I question, am I am I too young? Like not in the aspect of too young, but like, do I do young people shit? And sometimes I have to stop and remember though too, I had a kid at 18 years old. I literally
Mhm.
get the opportunity to be a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 20, like I've been on mom mode and then shortly after that wife mode for 25. Shit, my daughter will be 29 this year. So for pushing
Mhm.
30 years. So like sometimes, you think about like, they talk about people who've experienced traumas, that oftentimes when a trauma has taken place, there was a part of them that stopped growing at that
Mhm.
age. And so sometimes you have people who are really old who act super fucking childish. And it's like, I don't
Yep.
understand. But something happened to them at 7 years old. Something happened to them at 10 years old. And something stopped for them at that space. And so I sometimes think to myself, was having a kid at 18 years old and doing it what I thought was the right way by putting me on the back burner for the rest of my life and putting them on the front of the burner for the rest of our lives. Like, does that make me still desire childish things, right? Like, and I'm okay with that because I'm happy with the life that I live. But sometimes I wonder if, let's say a more professional or seasoned man would be like, you so goddamn childish, because I do childish shit. Like, listen to music really, 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 really fucking loud in the garage and pulling up to the house with music really, really, really,
No.
really loud. Like, to me, a great date is cruising in the car and, lighting something up and just listening to music and just singing in the car. Like, to the next person, that might be super childish and immature, but that's happiness to me.
Right.
So I don't feel old yet, I don't, my body's not breaking down yet. Like, I'm still able to keep up, but I'm trying to think, do I have any bad age? I think just being a parent for 28 years, I don't think I know everything at fucking all, but I definitely think I'm one of those people who might come from a space of like parental know-it-all. And
Right.
I certainly don't, but I can see how, inserting sometimes, my experience could be uncomfortable for another person maybe. But
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that work against me is I was in athletics my whole life,
Mhm.
and it's a constant reminder
Sure,
of what you're like,
sure.
because at a certain, you can't physically do it. I haven't jumped. I used to could dunk a basketball, and I can't even touch the rim. No, I'm barely doing good to touch the net. Those are all reminders. Every time my back go, every time I want to play tennis and I can't, my knees go like, and
Sure.
things that I routinely did every day. These are things that I did every single day. And then now that you can't do it, it's a constant reminder to you, like, damn, you really old, man. So, and for
Or
people who
let
don't
me
do
ask you this
that,
question:
yeah.
Are you in shape?
And see, this is the crazy thing. In all honesty, outside of certain ailments, my back and my knees, I would say I'm in better shape than most people that's in their mid 40s. Like, I can still, somebody else in my age, I can do
Mhm.
better than most people my age still. But I'm comparing myself to what I used to be.
Do you stretch?
Stretching is that's one habit that I need to pick up. I've never been big at stretching, so that's one of my big things. Yeah.
Let me
What I'm saying? Huh?
oh, go ahead,
Can
sorry.
you hear me? Oh yeah, really quick. What I'm saying is that stuff that you used to do that you can't do now, you probably can still do if you don't take this offensively. Like slim down and get into shape the way that you used to before, or may try something different, and you probably could dunk a basketball. Even at your mid age, because there's some cats out there that are in our age group that are out there high flying like they 20. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
No. So in general, what you're saying is correct. There's a stretching and certain things that I did, and losing weight would definitely put me in a better position. Where I am right now, getting in better shape always puts you in better position. But yeah, there's certain things that I was a hyper athlete. There's certain things that I'll just never be able to do again, and I know that. Yeah, and the reason that I say that, even in my early 30s, when I was at prime shape and prime weight, it's still like, how come I can't? I can't do what I used to do anymore. And not only could I not do it, even when I could kind of do it, I have to take 2 days to recover because I'm so sore and hurt for the next, usually I could play ball 5, 6 hours and then wake up the next day, we doing it again.
But that's
Man,
That's habit. You've gotten out of the habit of pushing your body to do those things too. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be restriction, just simply on age itself, right? But to you, Hukanon's point, and I've seen this meme be shared so many times, so much so that it's made my ass start stretching, like created a habit of forcing myself to stretch. And because I do have
yeah,
such a very labor intense job, stretching is like,
very important.
oh my
Extremely.
God,
Probably one of the most, at a certain age, one of the most important things you can do, actually.
mobility changes
Mhm.
so much when you do or don't stretch. And if you are not physically active, honestly, if you're not sexually active, if you are not doing
Mhm.
anything to literally stretch your muscles and those bones and those hips and those just fucking all these different spaces in our body,
You will feel the effects of the punches. I can tell you that.
it makes such a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does. Stretching is so
No,
so
yeah. If there's
underrated.
any habit that I need to pick up within the next, the first habit I need to pick up is definitely stretching, just on a physical level.
Yep.
Uh, that's one of the biggest things, because I still hit the gym, I hitting weights, but you gotta stretch, and stretching. Most most affects every part of you. Just your day to day, how you operate, how you get up, sit down, everything, how you feel, the circulation in your body. It everything is affected by how well you stretch. So yep. All right, we had 2:10. As we finished, or we done?
Good. I'm good. I'm good with that.
Is you finished or is you done?
We finished or we done?
Fun.
I think we're done.
Finish
All right,
and
y'all. You got anybody got any last words before we jump out of here?
No, I'm good. Have a good night, y'all.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
thanks for
No.
joining us, y'all. And just send us some more topic suggestions. In a couple weeks, we'll have our last Tuesday. So definitely pay attention to the Facebook Free Thinkers page for information on whether we'll be at Dirty Glove or if we'll be at Spinners for the last Tuesday coming up. But we will definitely be here next week, and we will see y'all soon. Have a good night.